Hey, welcome back to our daily podcast where we're learning together what it means just to walk humbly with God. My name is Bro, and just so honored that you would give me a few minutes every day. Grateful that we get to do this life together. And we're just hanging as long as it takes in a section of the Bible called Romans chapter 12. It's in the New Testament. It's a chapter of the Bible that encourages us all to allow God to transform us into brand new people. People who live in such a way that people would look at our lives with curiosity and say, not sure how it all happened, but man, that guy, that girl, they're just different, man. They're just built different. I'd like some of that peace. I'd like some of that hope. I'd like some of that joy. I would love to have some of that kindness, some of that love in my life. The writer Paul begins in verse number 9. This is where we've already been. He says, love must be sincere. Love must be real. Don't fake it. Just really love people and hate what is evil. Just walk away from your former darkness and instead cling, bond, glue yourself to things that are good and full of light. Yesterday we read how we are to be devoted to one another with a family kind of affection, and we are to honor each other above ourselves. We're to attach a high price tag to everybody that we encounter. And today we land on verse number 11, which says, never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. In other words, Paul's saying, always live with passion. Always live with energy and enthusiasm for life. If you do that, man, it's contagious. You know how it is to be around like an Eeyore kind of person or a Debbie Downer. I mean, that negativity just sucks the life out of a room. And we've all been around those kind of people. And in fact, we've all occasionally been those kind of people, right? But Paul is saying here that people who are built different, they tend to bring a positive energy and joy and passion and a really great attitude to the family, to the team, to the job, to the neighborhood, to the church. It's been my experience that there are like two types of people in the world. There are thermometers and thermostats. Thermometers, change with the climate of the room. Thermostats set the climate of the room. I told you I've been writing some stuff in the margin of my Bible. Out to the edge of this verse, I wrote, my wife's name, Debbie, because she's a thermostat, man. She is a thermostat. When the kids were little, I remember a time she took a bunch of kids from the neighborhood and took them to a thing we were doing at church. She piled them all in the car, and we were heading down to this. It was like a vacation Bible school type of thing for little kids. We had an old station wagon, so we just crammed all these kids in this car. And on the way down, somebody whipped out in front of her, and she had to slam on the brakes, and all the kids kind of went flying in the car, and everybody screamed, but everybody's fine. And this one little boy in the back spoke up and said, I knew we'd be okay. She's a God person. She'd never talked to him about God. He just figured it out. He said, anybody that happy, anybody that full of energy, anybody that full of joy, anybody that fun, they must be a God person. So Paul says, never be lacking in zeal. Be a thermostat. Keep your spiritual fervor. And then he adds this, serving the Lord. In other words, don't let your zeal, your enthusiasm be all about you, your gifts, your opportunities, your personality, your influence, your position. He says, let that passion, let that enthusiasm flow out of gratitude for what God has done for you, how he's blessed your life. Serve him wholeheartedly. When your whole life is motivated by gratitude for God's grace, it just changes the way you see things. Changes how you do school, changes how you perform on the field or the court, how you help out around the house, changes what you bring to the workplace. You work with excellence because you know it's really the Lord that you're working for. I heard a story about a guy that walked into a McDonald's right before closing time. He was shocked to find one of his old buddies from grad school was working there. They'd kind of lost touch through the years, but he saw his old friend, couldn't help but think, yeah, I thought that dude had a lot more potential than mopping floors at McDonald's. So he asked him, walked over and said, man, I haven't seen you in a long time. What are you doing here? The guy smiled and said, I'm mopping these floors like Jesus will be the first customer to walk through these doors in the morning. You see, attitude matters. People full of zeal, enthusiasm, passion, and a servant kind of heart, they make a difference. So what do you say we all choose to embrace that attitude today? Man, I hope you have a great day. Go and make a difference.